In this video, I'll show you how to get started with Onshape. First, sign in, then navigate to the Create button, click it, and select Document. This is your graphics window, and it's where you'll do all of your sketching and 3D modeling. This navigation cube allows you to view different angles, and rather than clicking the buttons on the upper right hand corner or clicking on the navigation cube itself, you can also click on this question mark, click on keyboard shortcuts, and then take a look at the different 3D view shortcuts. Alright, so the first thing that you'll need to do is you'll create a sketch. So I'm just going to do a basic example. So I click sketch, and then I have to choose where I'm sketching. So this pop-up says select a sketch plane. So I'm going to reposition this so that I'm viewing the front. I'm just going to click here so it highlights in orange. I'm going to click there, and now I've selected my front plane. Alright, I'm going to create a rectangle, but you'll see there's a little drop down, so I can choose between these two types of rectangles. I'm going to do a center point rectangle, and I'm going to start off by clicking my origin. You see it pops up in orange. Click, and now I'm not dragging, like I'm not holding the mouse down. I just clicked it once and now I'm moving my cursor. So you could try to get the exact dimension that you want, but that takes a long time, so I recommend just clicking wherever, and then you'll see there's a square popped up and it says 4.17. So I can just start typing. I'm not going to try to move my cursor and select that. I'm just going to start typing. So I type 4, enter, 4, enter, and now I have a 4x4 square. From here, let's view this from the angle. So you can see that this is not in 3 dimensions. It's just like a square drawn on a piece of paper almost. So I want to make this a cube. So I'm going to go up here and I'm going to select extrude. And you can't really tell from this view, but if I look at this at an angle, you'll see that my square has turned into a cube. And I can choose how far I extrude that square, either by dragging that arrow, or I could type in the depth here. So I'm going to have 4-inch extrusion, and then I will accept that. Another thing you can do is you can sketch on top of a face. So previously, after pressing sketch, I would select a plane, and I selected the front plane. This time I'm going to actually select the face of the 3D part that I just created. Now I'm going to use the center point rectangle again, select here, I'll do 2, enter, 2, enter, and I'll extrude again. So by doing that, you could add onto a 3D shape, just keep adding more things in that way, or you could remove. So let's see, yeah, well, I'll just accept it so that you can see. Right now I'm removing material. I can choose to remove it all the way through. I can have it go halfway. I can choose a specific depth. I will have it go all the way through. So I'm just going to drag that like that. Check. Alright, so I'm going to do another, I'm going to create another practice part. And to do that, let's see, I need to move this up. To do that, I can select this plus button on the bottom left, create part studio. So now it's like I have a whole separate workspace, and I don't have to like go back to the main documents page and then create a new document. I can just work within this one like project. Alright, so I'm going to select sketch, front, and this time I'll do just a corner rectangle. Alright, so let's see what would happen if rather than extruding, I used the Revolve tool. So Revolve, I select Revolve and it requires me to do two things. I need to select a face of a sketch, and in this case, it already selected it for me. It just had an idea of what I wanted to revolve already. But now you see it's in red, it says Revolve Axis. So I have to select the axis to revolve around. So I'm going to select that to let Onshape know that I'm ready to select my axis. And I will revolve around that. So you can see what happens. Now I have a cylinder. Now what if I, instead of choosing that as my axis, what if I chose this? So you can see a different cylinder, and it gives you an idea of how revolve works. It's wrapping the shape around some axis. Alright, I'll do one more part studio. So you can also use like the line tool. I mean, there's a lot of tools you can use, but here's an example with the line tool. Let's see. Actually, I'm going to start off, so I'm going to do like a house shape. And I'm going to give the house a roof. Now, to give this house a roof, I'm going to just create a triangle on top of this square. And notice that there's that like dotted line that pops up. So this is Inference Geometry, and it's used to, it's basically there to help us align things. So it's telling us a couple of things. It's telling us that this is the midpoint, and it's showing us that like if I were to click here and then go straight down, this would be vertical. So I clicked that, and now the line tool is still activated. I'm just going to close off that path. And you also might have noticed that the whole shape became gray. If the whole shape doesn't become gray, then it means that it's not a enclosed loop. Like there's some part that isn't totally connected. So I'll show you what that would look like. So let's say I went like that. It's like, it looks like it's almost connected, but not quite, and I know it's not connected because it's not gray. Alright, so here is a simple house shape. I'm going to extrude the whole thing. And accept. Now, if I wanted this to be hollow, I could use what's called the shell tool. And if you are looking for a specific tool and you can't find it, you can always click on the search tools button. And I'll just start typing. Shell already pops up. I press enter on my keyboard and it activates the tool. I'm going to rotate this to view the bottom. I'm also panning, so when I do this, that's called panning. This is rotating. Or I could just use the navigation cube and make it so I can see the underside of the shape. So I have to select the faces to remove, and I want to remove that so you can kind of see what happened. It hollowed out the interior. I can adjust how thick that shell is, and I think that should be good, so I'll press check. Now, if I wanted to create some sort of like door or windows, I could sketch on top of this face. And I'll use the center point rectangle just so I can keep things centered. But I can already see like that looks too tall, so I'm gonna press escape on my keyboard to undo that. Try again and I'll just start lower. And that looks good to me, but now there's this overhang. So I'm gonna close off that part, and I just clicked M on my keyboard, but you could also just press this scissor tool trim. So I'm gonna trim that, that. I'm not sure why it doesn't let you cut these points, but they don't affect the part. So I'll just leave them, and let's see if I did that right. Yes, cool. So I'm going to remove that, and this time, rather than going all the way through the whole part, I'm just gonna go so that it cuts through the shell outer part, and check. You could do the same thing with the windows. You could also add extensions to the house by just sketching and then extruding different shapes. Or if you wanted a different shape to your house from the beginning, then you would start off with a different shape in your sketch. All right, I hope that helps get you started. Let me know if you have questions.